Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Wow Wednesday. I am, as you know, Nancy Matthews, one of the co-founders of Women's Prosperity Network. And it's a delight to be here with you today as I get to introduce you to my dear, dear friend, my colleague, my mentor, the woman who taught me, oh, such a big lesson, my friend, the woman who taught me that it's okay to be vulnerable. And in fact, my strength lies in my vulnerability. And I don't know if we're going to get to that today or not, but I promise you that if you're here with us today for this very special Wow Wednesday, you're in the right place. It's going to be an opportunity to expand your beingness, as she is the founder of Essence of Being. It's an opportunity to elevate your consciousness, as she is the founder of the Conscious Leadership Academy. And it's an opportunity to step into a higher level of communication mastery so that you have enhanced relationships, conversations, your business grows, our ability to communicate from a high level with love and empathy and compassion is what will make our world a better place. So I thank you for joining us today. And in just a moment, I will bring Burge on. Couple of quick announcements I want to share for Women's Prosperity Network. So announcement number one, our Momentum Group Coaching Program is open now. The doors close on Sunday. So if you're listening in and you are interested to find out how you can get coaching from us so that you can go further, faster with less friction. And that's what we're about. We want to help you go further, faster with less friction so you're not overwhelmed and exhausted. So if you're interested in learning about how you can work with us and get amazing results, particularly as we head into the second quarter of 2022, just put down in the comments, yes, I'm interested in coaching. Put it on Facebook, put it in the chat. I'm interested in coaching. And then we'll reach out to you. And trust me on this, if it's the right fit, we will gladly welcome you in. If it's not the right fit, we will gladly say, I don't think it's the right move for you at this time. So we trust the process. We love you and care about you and want to see you shine and be successful. So just put in the chat or in the comments, I'm interested in coaching. Or if you are on your phone, send an email to team@Women's Prosperity Network. Second announcement. This Saturday is our monthly mastermind experience where the focus this week is going to be on Instagram. So if you've ever wondered, how the heck do you make Instagram work and get results? Join us this Saturday from 12 to 1 p.m., 1:30 p.m. Eastern. And that's all I got for you, which is quite a lot, and it's fantastic. And now we go back to this moment, this wow, with the amazing, extraordinary, oh my gosh, the brilliant leader, Burge Smith-Lyons, who has been in the field of transformational work for 30 years?
40.
I was going to say 40, but I thought she's only 45. So how did that?
Yeah, I know. I started when I was a baby.
So for over 40 years, she has been in the field of expansion, transformation, and leadership. She has worked on 6 different continents, currently has got a beautiful school for children in Liberia. We got to travel the world together through the Awakening Giants experience. And we actually got to be roommates, which maybe one day we'll tell some of those stories.
Yeah, there's a secret, the secret.
What happens in Ecuador stays in Ecuador?
Stays in Ecuador, yeah.
Okay, got it. Anyway, I am so grateful that you're here today to guide us in having conscious communications. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you, Miss Nancy. Oh my gosh, I love you so much, and I love this community, and I'm just so privileged and honored to play with you guys today. So as she said, get some pen and paper, and if you can see my screen, we're going to share a little bit and do it a little bit different this time. I have a couple of slides I just want to go over about for you, maybe how to effectively deal with conflict. Do you have conflict in your life? Anyone? Healer? Yeah. So how do you deal with that and how to have conscious communication? So I'm excited. I'm going to give you an experience after we're finished with what I'm going to share with you so that you can we can play with you on a deeper level, because I'm all about that. My strength lies in my vulnerability, subconscious stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you ready, Miss Nancy?
Let's rock and roll.
Rock and roll. Here we go. I'm going to just play with my screen for a moment. And hopefully those of you who can see. Oh, interesting. Okay. There we go. Everyone see it okay?
Yep. Looks
All is
beautiful.
well. All right. So let's everybody say, I have a voice.
I have a voice.
I hear Nancy.
Yeah, they're all on mute.
Oh, well, I want to hear it.
They're putting it in the chat. They're putting it in the chat.
I have a voice. I said it.
All right. I have a voice. So that's a big breakthrough for many of us, right? Sometimes. So what I'm going to share with you today is how to have more effective communication and more conscious communication in your relationships, in your business, your family, all of that. And then how to resolve any conflicts, perhaps in a conscious way. Okay. So one thing I want to share with you is what is effective communication? And it could be defined as the response that you get. So kind of consider, what does that mean? So if you're not getting the response you want from people in business or in sales or in relationships, personally, if you might want to look at how you are communicating, because that's something you can change, right? You cannot change necessarily what other people think or how other people communicate. So human communication, as we know, or maybe you don't know, has 3 components. So there's 7% of it is words, which is unfortunately in my world that a lot of people communicate only by words, text, email, Facebook, those types of things. And that's only 7% of the communication. I know that you've never been misunderstood, right? You've never been misunderstood by any kind of a text or an email.
No, I think they wrote a song about this.
And I'm sure
Lord,
that
please don't let me be misunderstood.
Right, exactly. And I'm sure that, you maybe have misunderstood other people, because there wasn't the 38% of it is tone. If you text something like, pass me the butter, or I hate you, or I love you, it's incongruent. So that tone, I always say, pick up the phone and get the tone, because at least you're getting a little more percentage of the communication essence. And of course, 55%, which I love, is body language. So what happens in communication, oftentimes we skip all of the other stuff and just go straight to words. And if you don't see the body motion, if you don't see people smiling at you, if you don't have a connection, and that's why Zoom is, at least it's better than just a text or just an email. And that's why I like doing experiential connections with people face to face. And I feel like a whole swath of our community and the younger generation, they don't know how to do that as much because they haven't been raised that way. I don't know if you've noticed, but they may have some social awkwardness around that. How do I be in front of people? So those are the components of communication. And here's the list here of effective communicators and being conscious. Number 1, be present and listen. I'm not going to go into that because it's self-explanatory. Being present is very connected. You're listening to what they have to say actively. You're not thinking about something else. You're not daydreaming. You're not preparing for what you're going to say next. Okay. Number 2 is taking responsibility for your thoughts, your beliefs, and your actions. And I share this ad nauseum because this is so important. This is freedom. And I'm going to go into it a little bit and a little deeper here in a minute. Tell your truth with compassion. Now, people may be able to tell their truth, but maybe it's not so compassionate. I don't know. Have you ever been yelled at? Or have you ever been somebody telling you their truth and it doesn't feel so good? And the other thing is maybe you haven't told your truth because you don't want to hurt people's feelings. Okay, so we're going to go into that. Being an effective communicator, one of the tools is to say, for me, the truth is. It sets you up to be able to tell your truth, especially in an argumentative, if you're in an argument or in your kind of conflict. This is an easy way for you to not argue, is to say, for me, the truth is, because they cannot argue that. they may disagree with what you're saying, but they cannot argue that that's not your truth. And of course, the last one was advice, truth, and story, which I'll go into in a minute. So that's the list of being effective community. I'm going to go over it just a little bit one by one. Being present, the first step, actively listening. Like I said, I'm not going to go into that too much because you know what that means, hopefully. The second step is personal responsibility. Now, a lot of us, when we're communicating, perhaps we like to blame other people. Perhaps we like to say it's their fault. Why did they do that? Why did they misunderstand me? Or why didn't they listen to me? And so what ends up happening is when you blame other people for your own communication, then you're giving your power away. You have no freedom in that. There's nothing you can do about it. You become a victim of that communication. And I call that BMW, which is bitching, moaning, and whining. Well, why did she do that? I know that Nancy never does this, but I do. A lot of times I like to bitch and moan and whine.
Well, let me take a step back. And let me say this, that there are times I bitch, moan, and whine, and it's because I'm having an emotional response. And if I don't acknowledge it and express it, get it out of me, like I'm going to give you a gross analogy. If I have a pimple on my face, I need to express it to get the stuff out. Otherwise it stays in your system, right?
Yummy. Love it. Love that analogy. Absolutely. I'm with you. You know, I'm with you 100% on that.
Of course.
Yeah. Of expressing for sure. However, what I'm talking about is when people get stuck there and that's all they do and they stay there, right? And so nothing really changes. So basically, if you're not blaming yourself or blaming other people, rather, you're justifying or making excuses. Well, they didn't hear me, they didn't understand me, and they just don't know, they're idiots. They don't know what they're talking about. And I know that perhaps in the world that we're in right now with all the conflict and all of the angst that's going on, you know, things can come up for people and they get very passionate and volatile about their opinions. And so I'm going to help us and support us in how do we share that without causing a lot of damage. And making excuses sometimes basically doesn't really change anything either, because we could go into shame. That's the other part of this, is that oftentimes when we're communicating, we say, I'm sorry, it's my fault. And even though it may be something that you can take a look at and say that I said that in a way that didn't land very well on you, it doesn't mean that you have to go into shame about it, because a lot of times people will live in shame and then they're afraid to use their voice. Then they don't speak up. Then they don't say things.
Well, let me ask a question, because when we make mistakes that hurt other people or hurt ourselves or have, we're in this communication conversation and I feel ashamed about what I said or what I did, how do you recover from that?
So you take so you're so good. You take responsibility for that. In other words, that is the key. And what I mean by taking responsibility is that your ability to respond determines the quality of your communication. Therefore, instead of reacting, going into shame is a behavioral, emotional, visceral feeling. Taking responsibility says, I take responsibility for perhaps I said that in a way that did not come across the way I intended. And it was not my intention to hurt you or to make you feel a certain way. So I'm going to give you tools on how to do this, because it's a skill that you learn on how to communicate in this way. But if you take responsibility without the shame, see, mastery is basically course correcting without invalidating yourself.
That was good. Mastery, communication mastery is course correcting without invalidating yourself. Because if we think about it, I made a mistake. I feel badly that I said something that hurt you or, caused you to feel pain, right? I can't make anyone feel what you feel. And Auralia said that in the chat, but what I said caused you to feel pain. And if I get stuck in, oh, I'm a bad person, I'm no good, blah, 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 all this stuff about me, number one, I just took it off of the focus off of what you're experiencing and made it about me again.
Right.
Right. So
Exactly.
taking responsibility is, wow, I'm so sorry that what I did or said, hurt you or impacted you in that way. I'm sorry.
That was not my intention. Yeah, that was not my intention. And see, this is what is a learned environment about. We're not, this will blow your mind. We are not responsible for other people's communication. We're not responsible for other people's feelings. And we put ourselves in that position of we're responsible for other people and how they feel. That's why sometimes we tiptoe or don't, say our real truth, or say it in a way that, or maybe we don't say anything, or maybe we bulldoze and don't even think about that. But my point is that we are not responsible for their communication. And I'm going to give you a tool here in a minute about how to effectively share your truth. And even if it hurts their feelings, to come from, as you see on the slide, empathy. And this is so important about having emotional intelligence. And of course, when people go into conflict, when they have some kind of an argument, or there's some kind of rub or something that's not working for the communication or the experience or the relationship, oftentimes we go to fight, flight, or freeze. And when we're in danger, that's our reptilian brain, right? We say, well, we're going to fight you, or we're going to run, or we're going to freeze and just not say anything. So those are our go-to reactionary types of reactions instead of responses. So responsibility also means responding instead of reacting.
Mm-hmm. Let me chime in for just a sec. So I'm big on doing my best to take 100% responsibility. It's one of the principles of the one philosophy.
Yeah.
And I learned several years ago that when we're talking about how we show up and when something happens, reacting is like that quick emotional response. Responsibility is about response ability, our ability to respond, rather than just being, run by our emotions.
Exactly. Sometimes you just have to take a breath.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really important to, and that's a freedom technique as well, for you to be able to understand that. And that's something you can change. You can change your thoughts, your beliefs, your actions, and the way you speak. You have control over that. So it's incredibly important. I mean, I do a whole day about this, but in communications. But the third step I'm going to get to, which is the committing to resolution, creating synergy. So when you get into an argument with somebody, or you disagree with each other, a lot of times people, they do want to go into blame and shame, and they're not really effective with resolving the conflict. So a difference of opinion is natural and expected. So I suggest do not change your mind to avoid conflict. I know a lot of people do that. They don't want any conflict, so they just change their mind, just go along. And it's not about winning or losing an argument. It's about seeking harmony and resolution. And oftentimes people just want to see who wins and who loses. So you have to learn how to cooperate. You have to be willing to trust yourself and others in order to have cooperation and seek the resolution. So creating synergy, basically, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. It's more of a consensus. So if you're in an argument, or you have a difference of opinion, which I know that a lot of people have these days, don't change your mind just because you want to avoid any arguing. Create synergy. It means you reach an agreement, you reach some kind of a resolution, and it feels like a resolution because you both feel heard. And what I mean by that is you build a consensus, which means you agree to support the decision. You may disagree to disagree, or you may agree to disagree. That's a resolution. In other words, you're at a consensus where you're saying, I have this opinion, you have this opinion, and I agree to support the decision going forward of this is how we're going to work together. So it's more of a resolution where you both feel heard. You don't feel like you gave in, and it's not about a win or lose. It's about being heard and acknowledged. So
Mhm.
for you to trust yourself enough to speak up and tell your truth and to trust others enough, you've got to learn how to cooperate, right? Instead of assuming,
I have a
instead of
question.
assuming there's a winner and a loser.
Yeah, I have a question
Yeah.
because, for me, this has been a process of learning to speak my truth and trust myself. And I did exactly what you were talking about here is I wouldn't speak my truth because I wanted to avoid conflict. And a little bit of self-disclosure here. So let's come off screen share for just a minute,
Sure.
if we could. So I grew up in an alcoholic home, and I thought conflict meant a very serious, almost violent, probably violent argument, and then people would leave. So I often did not communicate because I was afraid of what was the consequence that was going to happen on the other side. And Burge, I don't know if you know this
Me
or
too.
not, right? Like we've all been through these things. And when I was in my first marriage, my body reacted, and Aurelia mentioned this before, my body reacted so much so to the point that my thyroid gland grew to the size of a lemon. I kid you not. Like when I went for a sonogram and they looked at it, I was on the table and the guy goes in the hospital, hey, look at this. I've never seen one this big. Like I had stuffed my voice so much that, I actually had a blockage in my throat. And so what this conversation triggered for me was when I was in that space, I didn't think it was possible to speak my truth. I didn't know. And certainly my belief was that my partner was not going to agree to support and come to consensus and seek resolution. Like we were so far apart on all those things. So how do you, if you find yourself in that scenario with a partner who's not on the same page as wanting to agree to support, what do you do?
Oh, there's so many things, hon.
Okay.
There's so many things. I mean, I want to give you some tools about that. One, just to answer quickly about that is, and I believe, and I was there too. I had an alcoholic father. So, I mean, and we all, well, maybe we don't know, but many of us do know that if you hold emotions in or you stuff things, it can affect you physically. And I think people talked about that in the chat. And so that's a perfect example of how that happens because it goes somewhere. So the tool to use, one of the tools is to use I words a lot. Okay, that's taking responsibility for you to say, and again, for me, the truth is one of my biggest tools.
Which is great. Yeah.
Because what you're doing is you're basically setting it up and you're telling people, look, for me, the truth is this. And then that gives them the opportunity to say, well, for me, the truth is this. So it's not an attack. It's just stating how you feel. And you use a lot of I words. I feel, I know.
I love what you just said, my friend, because even in that scenario that I described, the anger or the hurt that I may have been feeling at that time, instead of blaming the other person, right? Learning to say, I feel this, the truth for me is this. And I wish I knew you back then. I would have healed so much faster.
Well, listen, it's the not getting it that takes the time. Once you get it, it's gravy, right?
Yeah, true.
So don't beat yourself up. It's all good. It happened in perfect timing for all of us. And the other thing you can do is when you're having this kind of an awkward, or not even, it can be very painful and violent, like you said, and upsetting, but it's also having that empathy chip. One way you can do that, I'm going to give you something you can actually say. You can say something like, I can only imagine how that feels, or I imagine that I just made you feel a certain way where you attacked me, or I understand how that feels, or please tell me more. It seems to me that I've triggered something in you. So what you're doing is you're opening up to a conscious communication, whether they know it or not, right? So you're not blaming and you're not attacking. You're saying, tell me more. And in a way that, because we all want to feel acknowledged, we all want to feel heard, We all want to know that we matter. And so in a conscious relationship or a conscious business relationship, you're setting the tone of saying, I can only imagine how that feels. And, I feel upset right now. How do you feel? And it's coming to a place of understanding that, putting yourself in that other person's shoes for just a minute, even though you feel like the victim, right? Or you might feel like you're the one getting beaten up, literally or figuratively. It's a matter of shifting it so that all of a sudden that comes out of nowhere, because people don't expect that.
Right. Well, and right, you actually disarm the typical dance that probably goes on in the relationship dynamic. And let me say this, because I suspect that there are some people listening in today who may be experiencing some of these things we're talking about, and maybe the other party that's involved in this conflict or dynamic with you, you wish they could hear this. And let me share this. They'll hear this through you. So if you're here on Women's Prosperity Network, listening with us, and learning from Burge this morning, know that you've been given this gift that you can now use to transform what's happening. By you being the change, what's around you will change. And as Burge often says, another Burgeism is trust and allow, and don't ask how, just be that. Take these tools she's giving you into your life, and you'll experience the transformation around you, because it starts within you.
Beautifully said, honey. Yeah. And that is the part, I'm going to give you one more tool. The fourth step that I just want to share is basically telling your truth with compassion, using I statements, ask clarifying questions. That's another key little element, to ask a clarifying question. If you're afraid to ask questions or you're afraid to speak up, you can just say, I have a clarifying question. That puts the onus on that person communicating. So that's saying you were not clear enough for me to understand. So that kind of, if you're a kind of person that doesn't like to ask questions or afraid to think I'm stupid or that kind of thing, ask a clarifying question. It totally shifts the energy behind it. And use for me to
shows. I'm sorry, Burge. When you say that, I want to ask a clarifying question. That question in and of itself is demonstrating a desire for greater understanding.
And it's not a blame. It's not saying you're stupid or I'm stupid.
Right. You're in that moment, you're shifting the dynamic of the interaction between you.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
And it just raises the level of the consciousness of communication.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would suggest, here's another tool. And if you're one of those people who, things come, you have foot and mouth disease is what I call it, where you just kind of put your foot in your mouth, you go, God, did I just say that out loud? What you can ask yourself is this: when you're in a communication process, you just say, who will it serve to say it? Who will it serve? How will it serve? And what is the greatest good for all concerned?
Do that again.
So you say, will it serve to say it? Who will it serve? How will it serve? And what is the highest good for all concerned?
Very good.
Yeah. So there's a lot of other things I could go into about resolving conflicts. There's a lot of other techniques and things, of course, on how to do that. But I wanted to give everybody kind of like a snippet of everything, and I can go through a summary a little bit later, but I want to give you an experience for you to perhaps dig into your own subconscious, and then we can talk about it, do some Q&A or
beautiful. Do me a favor just before we go into the experience, and then we'll open up for Q&A. I want to remind everyone that this process of mastering communication is ongoing. It's one of the reasons Burge and I are so aligned is we know how important this work is to heal your own life and also healing humanity. She's part of the faculty at my latest venture called the People Skills Academy, where we dive into these conversations on a regular basis. And a regular basis, committed intention, being conscious about the kind of communication you're having is an ongoing process. So Burge has put together some tools and some meditations, I believe, to support you beyond this moment. So let our listeners know about this gift, and then I'll put the link on to how they can get it.
Sure. Okay. Absolutely. These are meditations that you can download to help you with success. And it puts your subconscious mind at ease a little bit so that you can allow it to come in. And these are 4 different meditations. It's about success and your inner child, because a lot of these belief systems, a lot of these ways of communicating, a lot of these behaviors start very young and they continue on and keep showing up in our world. So it's a matter of understanding your own little inner child and comforting that child and let them know that it's safe to speak and that it's safe to share, and how to do that in a way that you're going to protect them. So it's a wonderful, I must say, meditation about that helps you shift that. It also has self-love. It's a meditation for self-love, because, you know, we could use more of that, perhaps, many of us, and personal power. So there's 4 different meditations in this, and it also has a little bit of an intro about why do meditations in this way with the subconscious mind. So it's pretty cool.
Beautiful. And I put the link in the chat. I know we've got a few people that are here with us over the phone. So for you, you want to go to bit.ly/Burge Med. And let me spell that for you, all lowercase, BURGEMED, which is Burge Meditation. So Burge, BURGEMED. And just go ahead and grab it. And I think it's $7.50 for all.
Yeah, $7.50. It's a download. Yeah, it's
So go ahead and grab them. It's only $7.50, and she normally sells each one of these for $10 or $20. So you and your life are worth $7.50. Like, it's a sandwich that you can eat over and over and over again. For personal nourishment. Yes, a meditation sandwich. I love it. All right, good. So do you want to do the experience first or some questions first?
Sure. I mean, just this experience is just to get a kind of a peek into your own subconscious about communication, and perhaps we could kind of walk through that, or we can go through a lot of different scenarios. But just all I want you to do is it's 3 sentences, and I want you to do a stream of consciousness writing, and all it is you write down the first thing that comes up.
All right, so grab a pen and paper, or do you want them to put their answers in the chat or on the comments, or you want to keep it private?
However they want to do it.
You can share in the chat if you want.
You can share if you want or not. It's up to you.
Your strength lies in your vulnerability.
Yes, ma'am, which you're doing extremely well, I have to say. I'm really, I feel very excited for you. So you can put it in the chat or you could write it down, but it's just three statements. So I want you to just finish this statement. When I feel not heard, what do you do? How do you feel? What do you do? Just write the first thing that comes up. And the second one is, when I feel not seen, what do you do? What do you feel?
I'm playing too, everybody.
Yeah, indeed. And that's why you're such a great leader. Okay, the third one is, when I feel not understood, what do you do?
Interesting. Okay.
So they may be very similar, your answers, but we can just see what this is. This just brings up a little bit of some awareness, perhaps, and to bring to your conscious level of perhaps some of your subconscious thoughts. So what did you come up with, Miss Nancy?
Yeah, I know. Here we go. Strength lies in vulnerability. So when I feel not heard, I withdraw. I go inside. When I feel not seen, I make noise. Interesting. When I feel misunderstood, was the last one? I ask questions.
Okay. Interesting. You've got a sampling of it's very different. That's unusual. Normally there's like a theme that comes up with people and they have a pattern about that. But yeah, if you don't feel heard, to withdraw certainly is that hide part and run, or just not be a part of and just kind of pout perhaps because you were doing this. This was your body language.
Yeah, I do. I'm like, fine, you don't get me.
Right. So screw you. Right.
So it's kind of
yeah. So, and because of when that happens, of course, people can feel that energy. And so then this other part is that I find fascinating is that you make it louder, you become louder, or if you're not seeing, you make noise. So it's like, see me, see me, see me, and pay attention to me. And oftentimes that can go into a fight. Right. So your responses are fight and hide. And the other one, the understanding was you ask questions. So then you kind of lean into it. So again, Nancy, you're an enigma. Normally normally you have some kind of pattern with that. So it's interesting that you've made the distinction between seen, heard, and misunderstood.
I know. I found it fascinating. And maybe it's a reflection of the work that I've done to improve, because I probably would have done withdraw in the past. And maybe I'm just making this up in the moment, these are the strategies I have found work for me. Because perhaps withdrawing, when I withdraw, if they notice that I withdraw, they'll lean in if they care.
Right. And if they don't, then you get to discern and filter out, oh, well, they just don't care. So you decide that means that, or I'm not worthy enough for them to care. So that goes into that, I'm not worthy enough, or I'm not important enough.
I'm sure there's a shred of that still remaining that shows up. And in a conscious way, I will withdraw after I've made an attempt at communicating. And if it just, like, if I'm speaking English and somebody's speaking, I was going to say Russian, and that's a little politically sensitive, I think, at the moment. Right. So I didn't mean to go there. If somebody's speaking a different language and I've tried, and they're not trying, then I let it go. And I turn it over. This is not my moment. I feel like I did my best, so I withdraw. So I don't know. Let's give someone else a chance to be in the Burge seat, to get Burged. This is what getting Burged is. And I promise you it's a good thing. All right, let me open up. Anything you wanted to add before we open up for question and answer, my friend?
No, I just have a little summary at the end about how to resolve conflicts productively. I just want to make sure that I get that to everybody.
Beautiful. Why don't you go ahead and share that, and I will go ahead and I'm unmuting you in a moment. You'll be able to ask your questions and share with Burge. I'll also tell you how you can get her meditations again. So why don't you do the summary, and then we will go ahead and have people join us.
Sure. And I can either put it on the screen, or I can just say it.
Go put it on the screen and say it, because we have some people
right.
on the phone.
Okay. Here we go. So we went through that. Yeah, these are just a summary of how to go through these. So resolving conflicts productively. Attack the problem, not people, right? Express our feelings and needs in a non-blaming way. Take ownership for our part of the problem or issue. Listen and seek to understand the other person's point of view before giving or defending our own. That's really important in an argument. We don't really listen to what they have to say because we're ready to defend our own opinion. Look for needs behind the stated positions or solutions. This is a very high concept, and I teach a whole program about this. So it's basically going behind the words to really hear what that person's saying when they're not saying it. And that's a skill that you can learn. Not rush into solving someone else's problem, and to take timeouts when needed. And this is the difference between advice, truth, and story, which is a really key part I want to make sure everybody understands. When someone is sharing something or they're saying any kind of communication, be mindful about how many of us like to give advice, and maybe they didn't ask for it, and maybe they don't really want it, they just want to be heard. And a lot of times we go in to try to quote, fix people. And FYI, I don't believe that anyone needs to be fixed, but we love to give advice sometimes. And one way to do that is say, may I give you some feedback? Ask permission first before you start, giving them advice that they didn't ask for. And the other part is story. Watch the story that you go into. A lot of times people will share something and they will say something and we'll go, yeah, but let me tell you about my problem. Let me tell you about this. Let me go into my story, and going into the whole story, you're not really hearing what the truth is. So it's better to just understand and differentiate what's advice, what's story, and what's the truth. Okay. The other part here is to encourage different points of view, controversy, and honest dialogue, and then respect those ideas. Focus on what can be done, not what can't be done. Solve the problem and build the relationship. Use objective criteria when making decisions. And overall, have respect, empathy, and ownership for your own communication. So that's a summary of how to resolve conflicts in a nutshell.
Yeah, so good. And let me mention, for those of you that are here on the phone, or this went fast for you, remember that you can get the replay inside of our Facebook group, Women's Prosperity Network. That's our biggest group with about 12,000 in it, and it's under guides. So I really encourage you all to go back and watch this one again and get the list and take these strategies and tools into your life and just watch how things get better, more relaxed, drama-free, quickly be able to resolve conflict instead of being stuck in it and in the swirl of it for a long time, because that sucks your energy as it does everybody else's. So thank you.
Or you can come to Essence of Being, right, Nancy?
Oh, definitely come to Essence of Being,
Essence of Communication.
All of Burge's workshops. So many of our members and other people in the world, around the world, right, have taken your workshops, and it really, truly transforms your life to experience at a whole new level. So I highly, highly encourage, start with, get those meditations, find out from Burge when her upcoming workshops are. Do you do your workshops online? I know you do in-person ones for sure.
Yeah.
And you're back to in-person, which is great.
Yay. So essenceofbeing.com, just go there and you can see the whole schedule. We're all over the place. We're all over the world this year. So it's all good. And we're online too. So
yeah, beautiful. All right, let's open up for some questions and comments. So if you are on your phone, you can simply hit *6. I've given you the ability to talk, so hit *6. If you're on your computer, just use that icon and raise your hand. First one up is Evie's, and then we'll go to Deborah.
Good morning, everyone.
Good
I'm
morning.
surprised that I'm the first one.
Yeah, you're here. You're on it, girl.
Okay, so then when you make that leader exercise, what I wrote was, when I don't feel heard, I scream. When I don't feel seen, I just leave. When I feel not understood, I just try it again. That was
okay.
But
Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to ask, my question is that we all encounter difficult people, and especially people that are close, can be relative of friends. So and they know how to trigger you, or they know how to start a discussion. So then my question is, what is the best way, and part you answered, but what is the best way to just not go there?
To
not go to the discussion and keep the relationship.
not go to
not good. So let me jump
to
in.
do the argument, not to go to the argument,
Right.
and just
Okay.
keep
Okay.
the relationship.
So if you, there's I have a couple of tools you can use. One is, first of all, again, saying, for me, the truth is, I don't want to go there right now. I feel like you're really upset, and I choose to share with you what's going on. And I want to do that in a way that that you can feel heard and that you can feel acknowledged. So take a cup, if you don't mind, let's come back to this. So you basically can take control of the situation. You don't have to bring it in. That's one thing you can do. If you know the person really well, you can do a what I feel like saying. It's called a pattern interrupt. So and this is something that you can do with relationships or business partners, anybody that you know fairly well. You can say, I want to do a what I feel like saying. And that is a technique where you can actively listen to someone without feeling like you have to be attacked and or get into this argument where it just starts getting worse and worse and worse and worse, and then you guys blow out, right? So what I feel like saying starts as you say, what I feel like saying is, this is not working for me, blah, 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 blah. You say whatever it is that you want to say. That other person doesn't speak, they only listen, but you have to get their buy-in before this happens. That's why I say it's good to do this if you know somebody, fairly well, and get that buy-in to say, this is a what I feel like saying process. If we ever get into an argument or you feel like it's getting worse and it's just escalating and escalating, you can use a pattern interrupt word or a sentence that makes you laugh. But you have to come up with that ahead of time. You can't do it in the moment.
Right,
That's a good one.
yeah, you got to be.
And you laugh and you say, what I feel like. So you say it and everybody agrees that once we say that word or once we say that phrase, then everyone stops and you say, what I feel like saying is la, 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 la. And you share whatever it is you feel like saying. The other person doesn't answer. They don't argue. They don't talk to you about it. They just listen. And then it's the other person's turn. What I feel like saying is blah, blah, blah. And then you listen actively to what they have to say. You can go back and forth between that. However, if it gets really bad, the pattern interrupt can look like this. You say the word, you walk away, you breathe 10 times, go to your corners, you breathe 10 times. Of course, that dissipates the energy right there. You come back together. That's the key. You come back together and you do a what I feel like saying at that point. If it really starts to escalate. And that's if you know somebody pretty well and they agree to do this.
Mm-hmm. Really good. And
Thank you.
Yeah, great question. Thank you for bringing that up. And then also, there are times when the other person may not want to play, at the level that you're playing at. So where I go to is being responsible, taking responsibility for my response in the situation, and just noticing, they're saying whatever they're going to say. And maybe it's not meant to be an attack on me, but I perceive it as such, right? Or attack on my views or whatever that is. And then I get all upset. When I am response able, right, able to respond, I notice that they're just saying what they're saying. And what my inquiry becomes about is, I wonder why that triggered me. The emotion in me as a response to something they said, that's what I look to get curious about. And this piece of building your ability to respond comes about from going to Essence of Being, coming to the People Skills Academy, getting the meditations, because the more self-aware we become on why we respond and react the way we do, that's where our true power comes from.
That's perfect, Nancy. Just like I said at the very beginning, communication is the response you get. And that's what I mean by that, is that you are responsible for that. And that's the only thing that you can shift, really, is how you respond. And because your consciousness is raised, you're more self-aware to do that. And that takes practice.
Right. It takes practice. And then you use some of the phrases and the tools that Burge is giving us today into the conversation. And now you're actually passing on a transformation. because they like that you take them off guard. Well, that went downhill fast. Like, that's great. Like,
Yeah.
they won't expect that.
And the other thing you can say, I'm giving you exact words to say is, what I heard you say was, and I feel that, and I feel attacked. So what you're saying, you could be saying, if it's something that's in the moment and that you're not going to stop a minute and why is this triggering me? If you're not going to go there, you can say, what I heard you say was blah, 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 blah. Is that what you said? So you're getting clarity and making sure that they feel heard and understood. And once they feel acknowledged, then they're going to bring down the level and allow you to, they'll be able to hear you. Whereas before they're not going to hear you say anything. And then you can say, I feel whatever it is you feel.
Yeah. Good stuff. All right. I want to, Evies, was that helpful?
Oh, yes. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. All right. Let me go to, next, we're going to go to Deborah Morrison. And yeah, Burge, you and I could be having this conversation and uncovering like 40 years of wisdom that you're getting here. For me, I've been, 20, 30 years a student, consistently improving and bringing tools to other people. So it's a process and it's a practice. So let's get in the game together and play. So join it, get Burge's meditations, come to the People Skills Academy, take a bigger part in WPN, because this is what we're all doing together. It's good stuff. Deborah Morrison.
Hey, good morning, Burge. Good morning, Nancy.
Hey, Deborah.
It's great to see both of you and hear you. I resonate with so much of this. Nothing I didn't resonate with. I think that the theme of honesty is an underlying principle of all of our communication, and then those kinds of pattern interrupts to bring us into our truths. And I just can't help but extend our personal. And I love these questions. And I've written them down, and extending the personal to the systemic, right? Because as women, we sometimes feel, well, personally not powerful. And yet from a systemic standpoint, women aren't as powerful as, our power isn't received in the political, if you will. So I know some people say, well, I don't like to be political. Well, let's just talk about systems then. So if we do not like the systems that oppress ourselves, and particularly women of color and women around the world, we're all heightened in our awareness of international concerns at this point, and just human concerns. And so gender pay inequality, studies released saying that 40% of companies still fail with an F on gender pay equality. So write to our politicians and do the individual actions that collectively will be seismic shift abilities. And that's my hope, that we can command these skill sets and exercise them for our own personal power, and then don't stop there.
Right. Speak our truths.
There you go.
When we see what feels and occurs like injustice, and that's just not that's not humanity, that's not kindness to humanity. Speak your truth about it with compassion and conviction to create change. Thank you, Deborah, for bringing that perspective today.
Thank you.
Awesome. Good. All right, we should have time for one, maybe two more. Let's go to Roz.
Good morning. I wasn't able to scribe, but I was listening. Burge. Oh my God, you are so on it. You are loved, appreciated, celebrated, valued, and most cherished. Relational currency, collaborative intelligence, effective partnerships, those three equal covenant agreement. And because I'm a believer in what you said was so powerful, I'm a empath. And I was just talking with a dear friend the other day that when our parents really understand how to even watch us, to teach us, so that as we grow, we can continue to communicate, that used to bother me. But now I finally, at 60 plus years of age, got to hone on it to notice as a gift. So you are a blessing with the essence of being with this that you shared today. And when I woke up this morning, a friend had shared this sign with me that said, You couldn't heal because you kept pretending you weren't hurt. And when I heard that in all of what you taught, this is just, I want to say that the mustard seed is now an orchard of love, to be able to not be, in a, get defensive when things are said, because everybody has their perspectives. We honor that, but now we have a way and tools, because of the essence of being, to be able to elevate us and catapult us to another level of communication. We don't want the evil one to just let one black dot on a white jacket to stop us, because there's other things to learn about each other that will help us to be able to evolve. So I thank you so much. And I yield the mic, but no, I always have a voice. Thank you, Nancy.
You're most welcome, Roz. You do have a voice, and that's how we started today. So that was beautiful, my friend. Thank you, Roz. One more question, and this is from the chat. My grown daughter's unable to have discussions without going into drama and narcissistic behavior. Any advice?
5 seconds, go. Well, I do teach, I do work with children. Okay. So I work with families and children as well. I have a whole
grown daughter,
teen power
so
thing.
It's an adult daughter.
Yeah. So, cause it starts young, right? So if we can start teaching them young, again, the same tools will apply, depending on how old she is. She's a teenager, right? So FYI, when you're going through having more empathy for you, to understand that what she's going through, is the best way to get them to perhaps want to share with you anything, is for you to say, again, to demonstrate, for me, the truth is this. You say that to her. For me, the truth is, I feel like you're not. So this is a whole technique about calling getting gotten. And again, I teach this in so many different ways, but in 5 seconds, it's basically feeling the essence of who she is behind the words. She's wanting to be heard. She's wanting to feel acknowledged. She's wanting to know that she matters. And you stepping outside of the triggers that might have, is I'm a bad mom, or I don't know how to deal with this, or this is a reflection on me, or, what's wrong with her, those types of feelings that we get around that when we have kids. It's stepping outside of that and looking at her from an eagle's eye point of view and just saying, what is she really saying here? What is she really feeling? And sometimes teenagers don't know. They don't know what they're feeling.
This one is 36.
Oh, 36. Okay, fine. So yeah, forget it. Forget what I just said.
No. I think you were right on the mark, because it's the same.
I'm teasing.
Okay. It's the same thing, no matter what age we are. And I'm reminded of something that helps me when I see behavior that seems, dramatic, violent, narcissistic, angry. When I see behavior in others that I'm like, whoa. I remember what I learned through Eckhart Tolle, which is that behavior, that acting out, as we might call it, is the expression of their pain body, as he calls it, that part of them that's in pain. So again, right, with the daughter, maybe get curious and ask,
tell me more. How are you feeling? The other thing, and the thing about that is, it is about the pain body, but it's getting gotten is so key, and getting people to trust you, and also to get them to share with you things, or do things that they may not really understand how they're, what to do about it. So a great leader, not because we do our conscious leadership, right? A great leader takes people where they want to go, but maybe where they don't want to go, but ought to be, because the best way to do that is to get them enough so that they trust you to know that you're not a threat. And that
was good.
Yeah. So it's a whole technique that takes, a little bit of more than 5 seconds.
Do you work one-on-one with people, or everything you do is through your workshop? You do.
Of course. I do private sessions. I do Shamanasta, of course, every twice a month, but I also do private sessions all the time.
If someone wants to work with you privately, just email burge@essenceofbeing.com.
Yep. Or you could just go to essenceofbeing.com and look at appointment, get appointment coach with Burge.
Okay, beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful. My friend, thank you for delivering so much value and transformation on our Wow Wednesday this morning. I love you. I appreciate you, and I am grateful and blessed to have you in my life.
And thank you, Nancy, for all of the things that you are sending out in the world. And just cooperating and collaborating together is just one of my greatest joys.
It's what we're here for. Beautiful. And to all my friends out there, make sure you do grab the gift from Burge, which is 4 or 5 different meditations to give you sustenance and tools to get out there and be a greater conscious communicator. Go to bit.ly/Burge Med, BURGE MED, Burge Med. So bit.ly/Burge Med. And we will be back next week with another Wow Wednesday. And please remember, as I shared at the top of the hour, if you were interested in getting into our momentum group coaching to grow your business as well as yourself, we only open this up once per quarter. The doors close on Sunday. So if you're interested, just put I'm interested in coaching, drop that in the chat, and we'll have someone reach out to you so that we can support you in having a greater impact and a greater income. They're supposed to come together. They're not on opposite sides. Impact, income, make a difference, and enjoy your life in the process. So thank you, Burge. Thank you, everyone, for being with us today. Make it a Wow Wednesday. Bye now.
No, I don't want to go.
How'd
No.
you
We got
love
an hour and a half. We negotiated, remember?
You are. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.